The moment 12-year-old Emma stepped onto the airport tarmac with her arms stretched wide against the blazing afternoon sun, time seemed to freeze. Behind her, 2 police cars sat with their lights flashing, officers standing at attention, and a private jet gleamed white against the endless blue sky. But what happened next would leave everyone present questioning everything they thought they knew about loyalty, courage, and the unbreakable bonds that can form in the darkest of times. If you believe in the power of kindness, second chances, and the incredible loyalty of our 4-legged friends, please hit that like button, drop a comment below, share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe to Positive Tales for more heartwarming stories that remind us of the good still left in this world. Emma Rodriguez had always been different from other kids her age. While her classmates worried about homework and playground drama, she carried the weight of adult responsibilities on her small shoulders. Her father, Detective Miguel Rodriguez, had been working undercover for months, infiltrating a dangerous drug trafficking ring that had plagued their city for years. The work consumed him, often keeping him away for weeks at a time, leaving Emma alone with her grandmother in a small apartment that felt more like a safe house than a home. The transformation began 6 months earlier when her father brought home Max, a German shepherd who had failed his initial police academy training due to what instructors called excessive emotional sensitivity. The dog had been deemed unsuitable for standard police work because he formed deep attachments too quickly and showed signs of anxiety when separated from his handlers. Most departments would have found Max a civilian home, but Detective Rodriguez saw something special in those intelligent brown eyes, a kindness that his daughter desperately needed in her increasingly isolated world. From the moment Max padded into their small apartment, his powerful frame seemed to shrink as he approached Emma with careful, gentle steps. The massive dog, trained to detect drugs and apprehend suspects, transformed into the most patient and loving companion a lonely girl could ask for. He would rest his heavy head on her lap during homework sessions, walk beside her to school each morning like a furry bodyguard, and somehow always knew when she needed comfort during the long nights when her father's dangerous work kept him away. Emma's world revolved around the routine she had built with Max. Every morning, she would prepare his breakfast before her own, carefully measuring out his food while he sat patiently, tail wagging but never demanding. They would walk the same route to school, Max's trained nose constantly alert but his demeanor calm and protective. After school, they would spend hours in the small park near their apartment, where Max would retrieve tennis balls with the enthusiasm of a puppy despite his serious training, bringing genuine laughter to Emma's face for the first time in months. But their peaceful routine shattered on a Tuesday morning when her father burst through the door with an urgency that made Max immediately stand at attention. Detective Rodriguez had received credible threats against his family. The drug ring had discovered his true identity, and they were planning to use Emma as leverage to stop his investigation. Within hours, federal marshals arrived at their apartment with instructions that would tear Emma's heart apart. She needed to be relocated immediately to a safe house across the country, and Max couldn't come with her. The marshals explained with professional detachment that bringing Max would compromise the secrecy of her location and potentially endanger the ongoing investigation. They had arrangements with a local family who would care for Max temporarily, they assured her, but Emma knew the truth that adults were too afraid to speak aloud. In witness protection, temporary often became permanent, and the chances of her ever seeing Max again were slim to none. Emma's grandmother packed her belongings with shaking hands while Emma sat on the floor, her arms wrapped around Max's neck, breathing in his familiar scent and trying to memorize the feeling of his soft fur beneath her fingers. Max seemed to sense the gravity of the situation, remaining unusually still and pressing closer to Emma as if he could somehow protect her from this invisible threat that was about to separate them. The drive to the airport passed in a blur of city lights and silent tears. Emma stared out the window while Max sat in the back seat beside her, his usual alert expression replaced by something that looked almost like understanding. Her father tried to offer words of comfort, promises that this separation was temporary, that they would be reunited once the case was closed and the threats eliminated, but Emma had learned not to trust promises that adults couldn't guarantee. At the airport, as they approached the private jet that would carry her to her new life, Emma made a decision that surprised everyone present. Instead of walking obediently toward the aircraft, she stopped in the middle of the tarmac, turned around, and spread her arms wide. It wasn't a gesture of surrender or defeat, but something far more powerful, a final, desperate attempt to show Max, and everyone watching, that love doesn't recognize boundaries or understand the logic of adult decisions. Max, who had been held back by one of the marshals, broke free with the powerful grace that his training had instilled in him. But instead of running toward the aircraft or trying to escape, he ran directly to Emma and sat perfectly in front of her, his disciplined training taking over as he assumed the position he had been taught meant stay and protect. The image was breathtaking, a young girl with her arms outstretched like wings, and a magnificent German shepherd sitting at attention before her, both of them silhouetted against the white aircraft and endless sky. The silence that followed lasted only seconds, but it felt eternal. The federal marshals looked at each other with expressions that revealed their own internal conflict between duty and compassion. Detective Rodriguez stood frozen, watching his daughter's courage in the face of circumstances beyond her control. Even the airport ground crew had stopped their work to witness this moment of pure, wordless communication between a girl and her dog. What happened next surprised everyone. Max, without any command or signal, began performing the series of commands that Emma had taught him during their months together, simple tricks that had nothing to do with police work and everything to do with the bond they had created. He rolled over on the hot tarmac, played dead, then stood and offered Emma his paw in their special handshake. It was as if he understood that this was their goodbye, and he wanted to give her one final performance of all the joy they had shared together. The head marshal, a stern man who had overseen countless relocations without emotional incident, found himself wiping his eyes. He approached Detective Rodriguez with a quiet suggestion. Perhaps there was a way to modify the protection protocols, to find a solution that would allow Max to be relocated with Emma to ensure her emotional stability during the transition. After all, the dog was trained in protection and detection, skills that could actually enhance her security rather than compromise it. The decision to keep them together required hours of additional phone calls, modified security protocols, and creative problem-solving from multiple federal agencies. But as Emma finally boarded the aircraft with Max by her side, her arms now wrapped around his neck in an embrace of gratitude and relief, everyone present understood they had witnessed something extraordinary, a moment when bureaucracy yielded to humanity, when rules bent in the face of genuine love. As their plane disappeared into the clouds, carrying them toward an uncertain future, the image lingered in everyone's minds, a young girl brave enough to spread her arms wide in the middle of an airport, demanding that the world recognize the power of the bond she shared with her four-legged protector. It was a reminder that sometimes the most profound acts of courage come not from fighting against impossible circumstances, but from standing still and refusing to let fear determine what we're willing to sacrifice for love. If this story touched your heart, moved you to tears, or reminded you of the incredible bonds we share with our animal companions, please take a moment to like this video, share it with friends and family, and let us know in the comments how your own pets have changed your life. Your engagement helps us continue sharing these powerful stories of hope, love, and the extraordinary connections between humans and animals. Before you go, please comment below and tell us, what would you have done in Emma's situation? Have you ever had to make a difficult choice involving a beloved pet? Share your story, your experience might inspire our next video.